Hi there guys, my name is Zach and welcome to my channel. Amongst other things, I am a reenactor and a jouster. And one of the things that I often get asked about jousting is what were the rules? A lot of people seem to assume that it's to do with being knocked off your horse. In fact, many books, even modern books, still put this down as kind of the main aim of jousting. It certainly did happen, but it didn't happen very often. It wasn't generally it wasn't the way that every joust ended. And it certainly wasn't the main aim of the joust. But it's quite difficult actually to give a specific set of rules. I think I've mentioned this before, but jousting was not a standardized sport at all. Throughout the medieval period, it developed, and there were several different types of jousts that took place throughout Europe that could look quite different to each other. Some of them had specialized equipment and some of them didn't. It was a very different era for sport. There wasn't a central governing system for jousting or tournaments of any kind. Each tournament was organized by a powerful individual, someone who decided that they wanted to show off their wealth and their skill, or to allow other people to show off their wealth and their skill at a tournament. And each individual patron, we should say, who organized their own tournament could set their own rules. So rather than give, a full list of rules, which would only be specific to one individual tournament, I'm going to share a few rules that I've seen crop up in multiple different tournaments from different places around Europe. So one thing that comes up an awful lot is that generally tournaments, so not a joust, but melee tournaments, tended not to have a points system, but were instead judged by a panel of ladies. When we're talking about ladies here, I'm talking about rich, powerful women who were part of the organizing body of that particular tournament, and they were put in a position above everyone else. They had the best seats in the house, and the melee would start, and it would continue until the ladies said that it should stop. There was no set time often for these things. You'd just go at it. You'd just charge into each other and carry on hammering into each other until they called a stop to it. And at that point, they would then decide the winner. There was no point system for knocking people down or anything like that. Obviously, if you fell off your horse, they were very unlikely to choose you as the champion of the melee. But there was no specific point system, or there was very rarely a specific point system for any of these melees. It was more of a judging panel who would discuss who is showing the best horsemanship, the best skill with the sword. Sometimes these melees would also include a charge with lances as well. So it was a real kind of multifaceted display that you would need to put on. You couldn't just be good at one thing. You had to do everything, and these judges would know exactly what they were looking for. Another one that comes up a lot is it's a bit like when you have a cake and you're cutting it. The person who someone cuts the cake, and then the next person chooses which half of the cake they want, and that ensures that everything's fair. Very often the weapons were provided by the person organizing the tournament, and then the challenger, the person who's come to fight against them, would choose which weapon they wanted. So the person organizing it would provide all of the weapons, and then the challengers, as they came up, would get to try out all the weapons available, and they would choose the one that they wanted, and then the organizer would get second choice. So it's the cake cutting rules when it comes to weapons in a medieval tournament. Third one for today. The English Crown actually at several points put out statutes that said that no one was allowed to bring any weapons to a tournament ground, except for a blunted sword. No weapons at all. Now, this might seem quite normal for us nowadays, especially in England. You know, it's not expected to carry a weapon around, but for the time, it was quite standard for most men to carry a dagger at all times as a way of self-defense. And often when they're outside towns and cities, they would ride with a sword at their side as well. But these statutes go to great lengths to list all of the people that are not allowed to carry weapons, which is basically everyone, and all of the many weapons that they're not allowed to carry. So you're not allowed swords, you're not allowed daggers, you're not allowed knives, which is separate. You're not allowed maces. It goes into huge amounts of detail about all of the things that are banned and all of the people that aren't allowed to carry them. And basically the only people at these tournaments that were allowed to carry anything sharp were the people who carved the meat at the feasts. And you really kind of, when you see a rule like that that's been put into law, you really can kind of imagine what has happened previously that has caused this law to be put into place. Obviously, at some point, some tournaments have happened that really did not go well, and the crowd or the people at the banquet afterwards had an argument over who was the best, or a call that had been made, and it ended up coming to bloodshed. And so these laws, you see them coming up again and again in England, and they're published several times just to make sure that no one is allowed anything sharp, basically, at a tournament ground, except for cutlery. Well, thank you very much for tuning in. Those were 3 rules that appear in an awful lot of tournaments in the medieval period. There's a whole load more. There's some really interesting ones, and we can go into depth on some other tournaments, on some specific tournaments, if that's the kind of thing that would interest you. If you've got any questions, please do leave them in the comments down below. If you've got any suggestions or anything else as well, that would be great. Please do like, share and subscribe, help other people to find this. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye bye.